years. This plant was just added about 6 months ago, based on reports that I helped gather from people who oversee land trusts and open space parcels and land preserves, because it's an example of a plant that not only is very prolific growing along roadsides, and if you note it here, you can see how dense it is. These plants have probably only been here, maybe 5 years. I'm kind of guessing, but these plants reproduce, or actually they spread very quickly. This is a perennial species. It's also herbaceous, so it will die back when you get the hard frost in the fall, but it has very nasty rhizomes, those underground creeping stems. Every plant that you see here is all connected by these rhizomes. Mugwort very rarely produces seeds in North America, so that's not a way that it's going to spread. But it will just spread by extending those little runners under the soil. New plants pop up. So if you actually could dig this up, you'd have this amazing matrix of plants with the rhizomes. The plants are very difficult to control, as you can imagine. You can try to pull them. You can sometimes herbicides can be used, but they're not always successful. A big challenge, and not just because it's in disturbed areas where we're starting to see it more along roadsides, but this is what we end up finding. A lot of open areas, nice and sunny, just getting these very, very dense patches of mugwort. It is something to take note of. And one of my take-home messages, yes, there's a lot of mugwort right here, but what we'd love to see is all of us recognizing the small seedlings. Getting these plants when they're small, when they're young, hand pulling them, digging them, get rid of them in the first year or two. You'll have so much fewer problems later on. No, we can't always do that, because sometimes by the time we realize what we've got, it's very well established. You might buy a property and it's full invasive, but the more you do to recognize these plants when they're small, the more successful you're going to be. We do have options for well-established plants. The other take-home message I would say is that you have to stay with your control for more than 1 or 2 or maybe 3 years. It's not going to be enough to have one volunteer party or one time to control in your backyard, because if you let things go, what's going to happen? It all is going to come back. That's right, with time. And
what if you mow it for year after year?
Mowing can be successful in some cases. Any kind of control that you do, especially above ground, is helping to stress the plants. If you mow, cut things, if you're not using any chemicals, but if you're doing mechanical control or hand pulling, every time you remove the plant wants to grow more. The goal of a plant is really to grow, produce seeds or new plants and die. And you stop that process. So as you stress the plants, they use up material they've stored in their roots to send up new shoots, new plants. And so over time, you can stress the plants, and maybe then you can introduce other species to come in and maybe hopefully outcompete the invasives that are stressed and hopefully dwindling. So that is certainly one of the approaches. Japanese knotweed that we looked at the example of by the table, people have said that if you have knotweed in your lawn and you're constantly mowing your lawn, that will be a good way to try to take care of Japanese knotweed. If it's growing in a field or along a riverbank, it's a different story.